It's a major danger. There's no doubt about it. All right, so now you're making your sales ability more sophisticated. You're working with this company. What happens then?
I stay with that company for about 6 or 7 years, and I find, I get to a place where, I've been offered equity a number of times, and what happens a lot of times with entrepreneurs anyway is that it's easy to give away equity when it has no value, and then once it has value, it's like harder to keep your promises. Apparently, for some people, it's like that.
Well, people forget too. When you make these, this is another thing for people watching and listening to understand is even if you have established a trusting relationship with people, don't overestimate the degree to which people can actually remember.
No,
things
I
get
agree.
fuzzy.
I agree, but that was not the case here. This was a willful case of manipulation. I'll give you an example. I walk into my office one day and we're trying to bid for some equipment, and we don't really want to buy this equipment. We want to keep it off the market. You understand? So my boss goes and he negotiates with this company to buy the equipment from them, and then he sends them a fax. And the fax is a blank piece of paper. And I go, why did you fax them a blank piece of paper? And he goes, because we agreed on the phone that I could buy that stuff, so now he can't sell it to anybody. And if he does sell it to one of my competitors in the meantime, I have a telephone record that proves that I faxed a purchase order to him.
Oh, yeah.
So this is not a man who forgot the promises he made to me. This is a man who has a style of thinking that doesn't mesh with, let's call it a tangential relationship with the truth.
Yeah. Well, that's very instrumental, right?
So, and the irony is, I left that company, and he owed me, maybe $200,000, $180,000 in back commissions, and refused to pay it to me because he was afraid. This is irony. I love irony. I mean, I like proper examples of irony. Like Ronald Reagan was not shot. He wasn't actually shot. He was hit by a bullet that ricocheted off his bulletproof limousine. I like good examples of irony. And so in my case, he won't pay me the money because he's afraid that I will set up a competitive venture. Meantime, one of my mentors has offered me a job as a stockbroker in Grand Cayman, which is my dream to go and live in the Caribbean. But if without that money, I can't. I need some money. So the ironic twist is that one of my clients calls me and he says, can you find some equipment for me? And I'm like, I'm living in England at this point because I'd been relocated to England to open the European headquarters. I've quit my job. I'm not legally allowed to be in the country for work. I have a pregnant wife. It's a tough time. And my boss won't give me the money so I can relocate. The guy says, can you find this equipment for me? And I'm like, yeah, I go find it for him and I make money and then I do it again and then I do it again. I'm like, and then I start a company. And what kind of company? Direct competitor with my previous.
Oh, yeah.
Total irony.
Yeah, right.
And I ran that business in the UK for about 9 years, and then sold it to private buyers, and moved on with got out of the data capture.
And how successful were you at that new enterprise?
It was, and we were. I mean, I'll say I got my $200,000 back again and again and again and again, and I sold it for a retirable sum of money.
Why hadn't you done that earlier? Gone out on your own earlier?
I've often wondered about that because as a kid I did. I mean, as a kid I was like, I was watching the news report the minute the snow was happening. I was out there knocking on the doors like I'm gonna shovel your sidewalks. And I'm also more introverted, so that's not the easiest thing in the world for me to go do. So I was off doing that, raking leaves, and then one year I came up with this genius plan at the beginning of Christmas or at the beginning of the snow season, which in Halifax is usually around Christmas. I sold insurance. I knocked on doors and said, look, you can pay me now, because you usually pay me like $10 to do your walk or $5 or whatever it was. But if you pay me $25, I'll keep you clear for the winter. Yeah. Big gamble, some years in Halifax I would do, but it works. People went for it. So I clearly had that mindset. And I remember once distinctly, what a lesson. I was raking leaves for this guy, old ornery guy. And I was paying by the trash bag full. He had to pay $2, whatever it was per trash bag. And in a huge garden, so I'm making it. I'm filling about trash bag. He comes out and he squeezes one of the trash bags and he goes, no. And he packs it right down.
Yeah, I bet.
And he goes, now that's a trash bag. And he goes, I'm not trying to be cheap. He says, I'm trying to teach you about value. Yeah. He goes, you got to know that if I come out here and you got light trash bags, I'm not hiring you again next year.
Yeah, right.
But if I see that you do it right, and I got to tell you, that guy, massive impact on my life.
Yeah.
Everything I do today is about over delivery on that basis.
Yeah, right. No kidding. Now that was good of him. That's for sure, man. He paid you for your work that day.
He did.
Yeah. Over deliver. You bet. Well, and that's the thing is you got to remember when you're selling to people, first of all, you don't want to sell to the wrong person because you might be in bed with them for a very long time. That's a good thing to learn if you're so-called fundraising too. It's like, you should never fundraise. You should look for partners. Yeah. And you don't want to take money from the wrong person. That's kidding. A very, very bad idea.